Welcome back to Explain Through Rap, the channel you love that explains cool facts. If you like our stuff and need the rhymes, like, comment, share, and please subscribe. In 1914, a European war scene is brewing. Tensions were rising and are quickly stewing. France are wanting their land back from Germany. The Germans just want to seize more land urgently. They got a strong naval fleet that they got work at sea. They're starting to threaten Britain's naval dominance perfectly. The Austro-Hungarian Empire and Ottomans are full of unhappy states, and a lot of them decided to declare independence, man. And the Russians decided to lend a hand. War technology has improved a lot too, since the last major wars that the world had got through. Everyone around the globe is up for fighting some dudes, but they're just struggling to find an excuse. Sarajevo, some Serbs and Bosnians are rebellious, and they sure got reasons. Austria-Hungary sucks and they want to leave, then a newspaper gives them what they need. Austro-Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand is visiting, and they decide to hurt the man. They work a plan to ambush his little car with bombs, but on the day they all miss the mark. Some officers are hurt, but none are killed. Ferdinand visits them in hospital, but they take a wrong turn, and this bit means that they're crossing their paths with Princip, one of the assassins that had failed before. This time he kills Franz and his wife, of course. The Austrian Empire blamed the Serbian government, so they ask if the Germans will cover them if they go to war with Serbia over it. And Germany say, yeah, whatever, go for it. They send a list of impossible demands. The Serbians can't agree to these plans, so Austria-Hungary declare a war today. Serbia, Russia, and France are sore mates. Austria-Hungary and Germany are tight, so they all declare war and agree to fight. Montenegro joins in the fighting too. France and Britain have an alliance too. The French ask Britain to aid their cause, but Britain decides to stay away from war, which is great for the German Schlieffen plan, which is about hurting and defeating France before Russia can send troops to help. But an issue the Germans knew as well: the French-German border they had to go around. The French forts and defences would slow them down. He has to go through neutral Belgium, it's a nice plan, but the Belgians refuse and choose to fight back. Britain see Germany invading neutrals now, so they declare war and try and shoot them down. Germany gain ground in Belgium soon. Spikes and skulls are on their helmets too, committing atrocities in this bleak part. All of this was very bad for their PR. Sympathy for the Allies spreads to show the Central Powers aren't favoured around the globe. But the French are looking like right fools, turning up to battle wearing red and bright blue. The camouflaged Germans find them easy targets. The giant guns can defeat their armies. The world updates their old wall stuff fast, and helmets and boots become the must-haves. Russia is now ready to join the war, quicker than the Central Power boys had thought. Austria-Hungary tried to force them back, but Russia are able to walk through that. Germany sent troops back to the east as well, because Austria-Hungary need the help. They also struggle against tiny Serbia, the ones they said had started all the fighting earlier. Germany pegged the Russians back in the north. On the western front they are winning more, and France are losing ground, retreating lows. But the Battle of the Marne gives the people hope. A gap opened up in the German lines, open to flanks from the side, and in certain times the Germans retreat so they can't get round to the back. The Allies then launch their counter-attack. They dig defensive trenches to keep covered, and then they both try to outflank each other. So trenches are set up all across the border. Trench warfare is an awful horrid order. No man's land separates both sides of trenches. They spend days firing on the other's defences. Thousands of artillery shells for days at a time. The shell shock drives men insane in the fight. The offensive side eventually go over the top, attacking on foot though, but loads will get shot. They go in waves and try and kill stuff until they seize the trench or decide to give up. Months of fighting and thousands of lives are spent to gain a few meters of ground at a time. Trench life is full of corpses and rats, horrible diseases, it's torture in fact. Shocking that the soldiers put up with it, and commanding officers just stuck with it. It's now about outlasting each other in trench hell, which makes food and supplies essential. The Allies have plenty of men from overseas, and the British set up blockades as they own the seas to stop Germans getting food and supplies, so they'll outlast them in the stalemate and preside. In order to break the deadlock, They both decide new frontiers will blow this open wide. German New Guinea had been stolen right by Australia, who we all know can fight. The Allies hit Germany's African colonies, and native Africans are massacred horribly, as they're enlisted as soldiers by both sides, and carriers too then, but loads die. The Allies are joined by Japan and Italy. Japan wanna take more land simply and take colonies and islands from German hands. The Allies offer Italy certain land to betray Austria-Hungary and attack Italy open a front in the north, and that was that. The Central Powers' friends are the Ottoman Empire. They're divided on whether or not it's best to fire. Someone attacks Russia, they're fighting a lot. Now they're in the war whether they like it or not. They go to the mountains for easy fights, but they don't dress well, so they freeze and die. They decide the Suez Canal is on their wish list, so cross the desert to take it from the British. But this fails too, the plan is foiled. Britain will try to get their hands on oil. The Ottomans blame their losses and failures on Armenians living on their land, so they decide to try killing them. They genocide 1.5 million. The Allies try and take the Dardanelles at Gallipoli trenches, but they can't, it's hell. German spies in Afghanistan try to flip them against the British, but they decide to drink in Afghanistan. Alcohol is a no-no, so the plan fails and they have to go. So the new frontiers had barely changed the war. They were still in a stalemate, nothing changed at all, except the Germans see they're low on supplies. The stalemate will lead to their own demise. Before it kicked off, they agreed to rules of war, but now the Germans choose to ignore. They agreed to not kill civilian people. They all agreed chemical weapons are evil. Zeppelin air raids bomb British homes. They used chlorine gas in trenches, so the US attempted to do some favors. The Germans sink civilian ships like the Lusitania. They had 150 Americans die on board, but they still don't decide to war. The Allies hid weapons on civilian ships, so the Germans could be forgiven for hitting the ships. Austria-Hungary can't beat the Serbian faithful stand. Bulgaria agreed to help in exchange for land. The Serbs flee to neutral Albania nicely, and then are forced to escape it by sea. It's 1916 and the only sea battle of the war happens between the dreadnoughts off the shore. The damage is costly for both crazy sides, so they won't do it again, they both decide. Turns out Germany are upset at Portugal, like in the Allies it's a setback. Conscription happens in the UK, so they had plenty men in reserves ready to go play, which is handy because out on the Western Front a long bloody battle is testing them. The Germans launch an attack on French Verdun. Thousands die in the effort to defend it. Some distraction is needed to save the French. They ask the British if they can make a dent. They start the battle of the Somme. It works, they distract the German forces, but they do it in the worst way. 60,000 British casualties on the first day. The British introduced tanks onto the world stage. The Russians are getting pushed back and back to help the French call for aid. They planned attacks. The brutal offensive starts well but finds and loses momentum as they run out of supplies. Romania tried to jump in but fall flat. Greece can't decide which side is all that. The country splits in two until the king leaves. Then the Allies are joined by the big Greeks. Russia fight the Ottomans in the Mid-East. Ottomans retreat. They're a bit weak. Brits land in Mesopotamia for the oil. They send an army to Baghdad, but the plan is foiled. They get ambushed in the town of Kut and surrender. For now, then put up a new desert offensive that's crazier, and it's held by Lawrence of Arabia. He leads the Arabs to revolt. It's a proper plan that ruins supply lines for the Ottomans. By 1917, everyone is certainly knackered. No clear winner has emerged in the battle. Russia are tired and out of supplies. People are restless too, no surprise. The Germans are well starving, and there's mutiny as in the French army. Well charming, but who will break first is the question, man. Then there's a Russian uprising in Petrograd. The revolution see the Tsar overthrown soon. Then the new government gets overthrown too by the Bolsheviks, who are now the law. They quickly pull Russia out the war. With the Russians gone, it's the best of luck for the Central Powers on their Western Front. But the US were looking likely to join the war. They've been giving them supplies but avoiding war and getting super rich from that policy. US are now the world's #1 economy. The Germans are afraid of this new threat and ask Mexico to attack the US. The British intercept the telegram though and show the US West Germans' plan. So US troops ship out to Europe fervently. This is terrible news for the Germany. They now have to force France and Britain to surrender into a quick submission before the fresh American troops arrive. This is their only chance to survive. They hit hard at the Somme and in the north, push the Allies back, but they have slim resolve. The Allies start to get better at clapping back, repelling all the Germans' brash attacks. By the 5th assault, the Allies start to gain ground, and the US troops have finally made their way down. The Allies push back the Central Powers on all fronts. One by one they collapse, and then the war's won. In 1918 it ends on 11th of November as Germany issue their letter of surrender. The peace treaty is written by the winning team. Germany have to reduce their military and accept guilt for the war they fought. They have to pay the damages for the war. 17 million from the battle of dead. The war's over, one will probably never happen again. If you have a request, please comment that with a topic that you want. I'll drop a rap. I'm no history buff, just nice with the rhymes. It helps the channel if you hit like and subscribe.